Hey visionaries, it's Dr. Renee Galloway, Chief Vision Organizer and founder of Sweet Inspirations LLC, and welcome to Nothing Changes Until I Change. It's time to put the do in your no. This discussion on change is not intended to be anything brand new, but insightful. So if you have the urge to tell yourself as you go through the course, I know, or I've heard that before, I already know that, hang on and stay the course, because this course is about you being ready to put action behind your no. And I've reached you at just the right time. And what time is that? The time when you're ready to spring into action. So let's get started and walk through the change model. What is change? A definition from the online dictionary says, as a verb, make or become different. What do you think of when you hear the word change? As a coach specializing in productivity, I oftentimes hear someone say they experience more feelings than thoughts about fear or dread, and this takes place even before the actual change has been revealed. Many will say, I just don't like change. Speaking of change, let me tell you a short story about my 4-year-old granddaughter. On one occasion when my son called her into the room to chat with me, I could hear her saying, "Where is she?" My son said, "She's in the phone." Well, she didn't see me like this because she was used to using Skype or FaceTime where she could actually see me. You know where I'm going with this. Most would agree that changes in the world of technology has probably been the most impactful change that we've experienced. Good, and in some cases, probably not so good. But if we're honest, the good probably outweighs the not so good. At 4 years old, my granddaughter has only known the world of video conferencing. Some have seen the change progress over time. And that's been my case, seeing it progress over time. And that is, in effect, a change. Remember, you may have seen this quote, "Without change, there would be no butterfly." This quote helps me to keep the process of change in perspective. Don't just talk about change. Change takes more than just a conversation. Am I always talking about change? Or do I take action that nets visible results? Growing up in my neighborhood, we would challenge each other to put action to our words by saying, "Don't just talk about it, be about it." That's what we would say. Or we would even say, "Talk is cheap," meaning you said it, now let's see what you're going to do about it. Or you were maybe someone you know always talking about what you're going to do, but the end result never materializes. If so, it doesn't have to be or remain that way. It's in you to be the change that you want to see. CHANGE, change. Let's break it down. We are going to go through each of the 6 letters in the word change to define areas of evaluation that you can use to facilitate your change. I've walked through this process as well and have found it to be very beneficial for me. Let's walk through change one letter at a time, beginning with the letter C. The C in the change model represents creativity. Let's face it, we are not all good at the same things, and it's okay. In fact, it's a really good thing that we're not. I found that when I tapped into my personal creativity, meaning the things that I do well or I am good at, that goal setting and the path to achievement has been a real joy, and I believe you will too. As a co-author in an anthology with 16 other women, Power Up Superwomen Stories of Courage and Empowerment, my chapter is entitled The Power of Your Personal Vision, and it is there that I share how to develop your inner strength through connecting with your personal vision and then putting in the work to make it happen. Even if you like the way you're doing something currently and the results are satisfactory, there can be creative improvements. This counters, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We see products oftentimes where the name hasn't changed, but it will say new and improved. So improving on something that's already good is a healthy consideration that we can carefully evaluate before tweaking. For example, I've hosted 8 to 10 vision board parties with different themes and audiences, but I was very pleased at my last event by the comment of a participant who had attended previously. She was very surprised how different it was, although it was still a vision board party. I will never stop working to invoke new and creative ways of improving the vision board parties. Secondly, I'm a passionate baker, and once I perfect a recipe, I still look for creative flavor profiles, again invoking additional creativity. When working one-on-one with a visionary, we often go through an exercise and they write their own vision statement. Some of the questions that are asked on the vision statement worksheet include things I enjoy doing, what brings me joy and happiness, issues that I care about deeply, things I can do well, don't be modest, what would I do if money nor failure were an option, something I would like to stop doing or do less of. Those are some questions you can ask yourself as you examine your creativity. And I'd like to leave you with 2 takeaway declarations. I will work at nurturing and growing my creative side. I am becoming the very best me because no one can be a better me than me. Next, we have the H in change, and that H is habits. What do you think about when you hear the word habits? Or maybe are there any feelings that arise when you hear the word or talk about habits? Think about it for a minute while I explain the reason habits are included in this change illustration. We should carefully examine our habits when evaluating the changes we need to consider. I know many times during coaching that question sparks a groan from the client as if it is not so pleasant to think about. If that's the case with you as well, I'm going to start with the positive side of habits. Not all of our habits are bad. It's our good habits that can help us conquer some of our not so good ones. Are you organized? Being organized is an excellent trait or habit to have because it can help us to organize the process when setting goals. You're less likely to be all over the place looking for the notes that you jotted down from this class. I mean, people all the time who are fitness enthusiasts but don't always like drinking water. It's going to take being intentional to change this habit, reducing the number of beverages that aren't healthy and substitute water, carrying oftentimes a reusable water bottle that can support this new and healthy habit. Let's ask ourselves, what's keeping me from achieving my goals? Now identify what habits are contributing to this behavior. Procrastination. It's actually poor action, not time management. We all have 24 hours in a day, but it's the actions during those 24 hours that oftentimes contribute to our procrastination. Habits and behaviors, social media, surfing without time limits, poor spending habits leading to debt, resulting in financial problems. It's time for us to look at some of our habits and remember, you have good habits too. A. The A in change is attitude. At a minimum, at the beginning of each month, I do an attitude check. Why, you might ask? Because I recognize during the course of even 30 days, life happens and it's oftentimes through people. And if I don't check my attitude, not anyone else's, I find that some of the life events that have happened over the course of the month may have left me with less than positive attitude in some areas. Have you ever responded to someone in a way that later on you had to ask yourself, where did that come from? I know I have, and that's the purpose of my attitude check. A positive overall attitude as it relates to change is essential. I say overall because there are many facets to our lives, and there will be many areas of change that we will endeavor to work on. Being and feeling positive about the desired change can make even a tough task manageable because we know the desired outcome that we're working towards. Your attitude should speak life into the change that you are desiring to see. Even when it gets tough, say, I got this. If you want to soar above the doubt and negativity, insulate your attitude from the negative noise and chatter that some people can bring into our lives. Conversely, we don't want to be the negative Nelly or nail in anyone else's life either. So we should check our attitude as it relates to others while we are working on our own change. Key takeaway, your attitude really does determine your altitude. Place this on a sticky note and keep it somewhere where you'll be reminded. The N in change stands for necessary. Change is not optional. It is absolutely necessary. Change is necessary for growth, which we will talk about a little later. Definition of necessary as an adjective: required to be done, achieved or present, needed, essential. For example, in a sentence, it's not necessary for you to go there. I take a deeper look at my necessary changes annually, and that annual date is my birthday. Why on my birthday? I recognize at this point that I may have more years behind me than are in front of me. So there is no time to waste. Changes that I view now as necessary may have been optional several years ago. In my younger days, I could spend more frivolously because I felt I had time to make it up. Thinking this way for me was probably foolish, and I'm happy to say that that period in my life was very short-lived. Living financially responsible early in life is a necessary thing for all of us because we never know how much time we're going to have to actually make up that extra money that we spent on careless items. We may have, as I talked about earlier, optional changes. Now, the key takeaway here is asking yourself, what is my necessary change? The G in change stands for growth. You may have heard the quote, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. I take this quote to mean that as long as we wake up daily, we are aging or actually growing older. However, growing up or maturing is the optional part. We can ignore opportunities or even sometimes just be unaware of opportunities that can lead to growth. However, we may have absolutely no control against the aging process. No matter how hard scientists work to come up with solutions to stop or slow down the aging process. I have grown and matured, and there are things now that I did in my 20s, 30s, or even 40s that I wouldn't dare do now. Whether the choice in the earlier years was out of defiance or immaturity, doesn't really matter. What matters is that we grow in knowledge and do things differently. Change should promote some type of growth, whether it's spiritual, mental, or emotional. When changes to our mental health is the goal, it oftentimes may mean distancing in a non-aggressive way from those who bring stress and anxiety to our lives. It may mean taking a different job, even with less money, because we have reduced work hours and the stressors of that job are less. This type of change requires careful planning. Don't make this life-changing decision in haste. Our sleeping and eating patterns contribute to a healthy mental and emotional life. Learning to say no or not right now can reduce stress in our lives. Living in peace is a priceless gift that we all deserve. Don't wait for others, but grow your own peace tree. For me, that's what growth is all about, recognizing at whatever point the urge or the desire hits you that you need to do something different and making the changes that will grow and mature you into the very best you. The E in change represents expectations. What are you expecting as a result of your desired change to a particular area? When you set out to make changes, are you hopeful with a little doubt or trepidation mixed in, or are you going in full steam ahead expecting to reach your goal no matter what? We know that life sometimes can throw a curveball into our plans, but healthy expectations take this into consideration. And if this should occur, reassess the situation and adjust. But by all means, keep going. Don't give up. You must set the tone for your expectation. Again, you must set the tone for your expectations. By that I mean we may look to others for affirmation or confirmation that we've chosen to do this is the right thing or is a good idea. It is at this time doubt and even fear may raise their ugly heads. We may or may not get the nod that we're looking for, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't move forward with our decision. Set realistic expectations. By setting realistic expectations on our goals, we can minimize discouragement. What are you expecting? Set your expectations. Now let's recap the change model. Now that we've gone through the 6 letters in change and created actionable steps that you can facilitate to make the changes that you desire, the path to change isn't meant to be linear, one where you follow the letters in change in order. You can start with expectations, move to growth, next attitude, habits, necessary, and lastly creativity, or the order that best fits your personal path to change. Again, I can't say it enough that this is a personal path to change and you should consider or choose the course that best fits you. You should chart your course to change. Depending on your personal circumstances, you will still reach your intended goal even when detours occur. Change is not a one-and-done occurrence, but we should continue to be vigilant about the areas in our lives where changes, whether major or minor, could be life-enhancing. So what are our next steps? Set priorities. Setting priorities is a key to accomplishing any goal. Everything cannot be considered a priority if we don't set a goal, then a priority, and then take actionable steps towards achieving it. It will forever remain in our hearts and heads unfulfilled. So where do I begin? Now that's a personal decision. Only you can decide where to begin. And once you've decided where to begin, again review the CHANGE model to determine where you need to really begin. Next, write down an actionable plan using another popular tool, SMART goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. enlist the help of an accountability partner that will champion your efforts and help you to stay on track. If it were so simple to make the changes that we desire in the areas that are most important to us, then everyone would automatically do what they know to work. We know that that's not the case. A certified coach may assist or guide you through the process and serve as your accountability partner. These steps may help you move forward. And I'd like to leave you in closing with this quote: "Life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by change." What changes are you willing to make your life better? For more information, visit Sweet Inspirations LLC to determine if we can help you facilitate the changes you desire.